Hey guys, Dr. Cole here doing another video for you, and the title of today's video is called The Tale of Two Tomatoes. Now look, before I get into the story, today we're going to be discussing something known as plant lectins, and this will be particularly helpful for anybody that has digestive issues, autoimmune disease, or joint pain conditions, chronic pain conditions, rheumatoid arthritis, or things like that. And so we see a lot of those conditions in our practice, and one of the questions I get from patients is, Dr. Cole, I was reading a book or I saw a video or I was online and I heard about nightshade vegetables or plant lectins and how those are found in certain foods that we usually consider healthy, but that they should be avoided in people that have autoimmune disease, digestive problems, or joint pain. And so we're going to break this down a little bit today, and like anything, discuss the original forms of those foods, and we're also going to discuss what's been done to these foods to make the modern versions of them maybe less healthy for us. And so the main book that discusses this is actually a great book. It's called The Plant Paradox. And in this book, a medical doctor, Stephen Gundry, breaks down certain foods that we may consider healthy, like tomatoes, peppers, potatoes, peanuts, cashews, quinoa, certain grains. We consider them healthy, but those foods contain a protective mechanism in the plant called a lectin. And the idea here is that the lectins in those foods, for people that can't break them down properly, which is a large majority of the population, that they should avoid these foods because those lectins will drive gut problems and joint pain and autoimmune disease. And look, I will tell you, absolutely, if someone has those conditions, you may need to cut those foods out. You may do best off of foods that contain lectins. But the area that I disagree with Dr. Gundry on is that those foods traditionally haven't always contained the amount of lectins that they do. And they're not designed for us to just not eat those foods. My premise always is, what have people consumed for thousands of years? And what foods did God put on the earth for us to eat? And so let's get back to my story about the tale of two tomatoes here, and I'll tie all this together. So last year, we do a lot of cooking ourselves at home. And so last year we were making a tomato sauce from some heirloom tomatoes that I bought at our local organic farmers market. So we get these heirloom tomatoes, and we read the book about, Dr. Gundry. He makes some great points about how before, like traditionally, people in Italy, they would not consume the whole tomato. They would blanch it, they would put it in boiling water, they would blanch it, and they would peel the skin off, they would de-seed it, and then that's how they made their pasta sauces. So, we're going to go do the same thing, I thought. We're going to make our own tomato sauce, spaghetti sauce from home. So we get these tomatoes, heirloom tomatoes, and we put them in the boiling water. And I noticed that these heirloom tomatoes, within 1 minute of being in that boiling water, the skin starts to crack and peel back on the tomatoes. We put them in the ice water right afterwards, and what do you know, the skin just peels right off extremely easily. So we pull the skin off, we de-seed the tomatoes, we make this awesome pasta sauce that went great. Now we had some friends who don't really know a whole lot about health and are very well-meaning. So they have an abundance of tomatoes, the typical red tomatoes that look like a baseball that you probably see in most grocery stores. And so who knows if they were GMO or not. I'm sure that the tomatoes aren't GMO, but they were probably hybridized. So they gave us these tomatoes, and they're at least garden grown. So we figured, okay, we're going to make some pasta sauce with these things too. I want to do an experiment and see the difference between these tomatoes and the heirloom tomatoes. Well, what do you know? The tomatoes that our friends gave us that look like the typical thing you think of when you think of a tomato, right? So it's a almost perfect circle, size of a baseball, bright red. So we put this in the boiling water, long story short, and these things sit in that boiling water for 5 minutes and the skin won't peel. They're so resistant. Well, that's because the lectins, the protective protein found in these tomatoes, are found in a lot of hybridized type food, not heirloom, hybridized. It creates this impenetrable type skin, this really protective coating in these plants that if the boiling water can't break apart that in 5 minutes, well, what do we think that's doing to our gut liner? What type of problems do you think your digestive tract is having breaking down those foods? And so the big difference between the two tomatoes, the heirloom ones very easily dissolving in about less than 1 minute, and then the modern hybridized type tomatoes over 5 minutes in boiling water, they're still not cracking up. That's what I believe the biggest difference is in regards to lectins. So I always go back, did God make tomatoes? Of course. Did people eat tomatoes for thousands of years? Of course. So now all of a sudden, what's the problem with tomatoes or squash or quinoa or peppers or eggplant or some of these other foods that the book Plant Paradox says we should be avoiding. So look, I know it can seem like whenever you're looking at things online, the more you research, the more you read, the more you get into paleo diets and keto diets, I know some of you probably feel like, what the heck is left out there to eat right now? It's like the more we study, the less confident we feel about the foods we're eating. We can wonder really what the heck to eat, and it can be very frustrating. So my thing that I try and do with clients, and I hope this is helpful for you, is, it's not so simple as just removing entire food groups. Like, oh, all this entire food group, just get tomatoes out of your diet altogether. Really, what's been done to those foods? And I've done some other videos about plant hybridization. I did a great one about wheat recently that's got a lot of good feedback. I would encourage you to go watch. And so the reality is that a lot of our foods have been hybridized. And so tomatoes, for example, going back again, if we go back a couple hundred years ago even, they didn't look like nice, round, red baseballs. If you get some of these heirloom tomatoes, they're actually like a deep burgundy, or there might be an orange. They might be misshapen. They're not like a perfect shape. So, if we get the original versions of these foods, it's going to be something that your body innately recognizes. It's going to be something that your digestive tract can break down a lot easier. It's going to be something that you tolerate a lot better. It's not going to drive the same immune system or food sensitivity type things that these modern hybridized foods do, because your body doesn't recognize them, and they're extremely difficult to break down too. So, hey, I hope this is helpful. Like anything, always get back to the most original version. Always get back to the most unadulterated, original version of these foods and see how your body responds. If you get heirloom tomatoes and you still don't feel well, hey, you may be a person that has to get off of them short term. But what I've seen after working with hundreds and hundreds of clients is that if we start them off on a pretty broad diet, but just make sure that the foods they're eating really are very pure foods in their most original form, that people can tolerate foods that they previously thought that they couldn't because they were eating the processed modern versions of that. So I hope that makes a ton of sense. Look, if you would like help, we do customized functional medicine coaching programs that at the very least involve diet. I mean, diet's the foundation of everything that we do here. But we break down modules that we work with clients in various health topics like detoxification, medical grade supplementation, stress management techniques, exercise and fitness, gut healing protocols. So the diet's the foundation of everything, and you have to get that right first. But we build upon that once we get that under our belt. So if you would like help, go to our website. If you're watching this right now on our website, click the new patient button, fill out a form to request a free phone consult. You and I can hop on the phone together and we'll talk about your health situation, where you're at right now, maybe what some good testing options would be, and we can, if we're a good fit for each other, discuss the next steps from there too, about working together or putting together a plan that's going to help you reach your health goals. So I hope this was helpful. Like this video, share this video with your friends. There's so many people that need to hear this, and stay tuned for the next one. So, hey, thanks a ton. Have a great day.